Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Sunburn Cocktail. It's getting hot out there, boys and girls. I'm going to start with our shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add tequila. 1 ounce tequila. Next, 1 ounce triple sec. I am using Cointreau. Lastly, 2.5 ounces cranberry juice. 2.5. There we go. I'm using diet cranberry, so it's a little lighter shade of red. Then we shake. And we're going to take our martini glass and strain it in. Look at that, boys and girls. It's like we know what we're doing. The Sunburn. Yeah, pretty good. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. See ya.
I do love a good, slow burn romantic Dracula film. And this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, Dracula from 1979, gives us just that. So you'd think I'd be happy, right? Well, the movie is quite good. But there is something about pushing a 1970s actor into a 17th century plot that just doesn't quite work for me. Greg thinks it's the puffy hair, and he could be right. What do you think? Are you pro-disco Dracula? I think it's just a little too groovy for me. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. I did thirsty work today, Greg.
Did you?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm okay. How was your July 4th?
As exciting as always.
Well, you got thirsty work in, so
I did.
that's good.
It is.
Hope you stayed hydrated.
I know, right? It's very important when doing thirsty work to stay
Very.
hydrated. With all kinds of different selections.
Well, you got to mix it up, Karen.
Yeah. Can't just do water. That's crazy talk.
All right. Was this film my choice, Karen, or was it yours?
It was yours. And it's not a Hammer film.
No, it is not.
What's up with that?
Well, I think by now we've done all the Christopher Lee ones.
What is the film you chose, Greg?
Film I have chosen is from 1979, Karen.
Groovy. What do you got?
It's called Dracula. Are you familiar?
It's funny, I've never seen this one,
I haven't either.
which is strange to me. Do they not
Yeah.
play it? Like
Yeah,
at
apparently
Halloween and
not.
stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I don't,
Well, where did you watch it, Karen?
dailymotion.com.
Yeah, I watched it on archive.org.
It is available on Amazon.
Is it?
Yeah, I found it, but
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't find it.
oh, well,
Well, at least earlier when I was planning for it, I couldn't find it. It may be there now. So I don't know.
but yeah, I went to dailymotion.com.
Okay. I have a
But it's,
cocktail to go with it too, Karen.
well, I'm still stuck on the how I've never seen it. I just don't understand why it's not out there with all the other ones.
I do
I don't
not.
even recall.
I remember it
I don't remember it.
in the theaters and things like that. Yeah. Or
Oh,
definitely in the video stores.
not me. All right. Well, what cocktail did you bring along with this film?
The cocktail I have chosen is called the Sunburn Cocktail.
It's nice. Did you know it was going to fit in so well?
Yes,
Or
I
you
did,
had a
Karen.
guess?
Because, I do my research. I do
Oh,
my
that's
research
true.
when I'm
He's
trying
so
to find a
good.
cocktail.
He does research. I just show up.
You just add vampire to the beginning of some other drink.
Well, someone else does that, but I jump right on that bandwagon.
The Sunburn Cocktail is a very easy one to make, boys and girls. You're going to need 1 ounce of tequila, 1 ounce of triple sec, 2.5 ounces of cranberry juice. We're going to put all that into a cocktail shaker with ice, shake, and strain into a martini glass. Easy peasy.
Yep.
Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Sunburn Cocktail, Karen?
Such a good one for July, too. You are
I
on
know,
it.
right?
Oh, God.
It's getting
I'm
hot
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed now. Yes, go make your own sunburn. But always use your SPF when outside.
out there. Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
I like to use a SPF 15, Karen. That's my...
I'm a 50 girl myself. But as we've talked about, I was a lifeguard for a long time. I'm not taking any chances. And back then it was baby oil and
All right, Karen, might you have a brief synopsis of this film for us from 1979, as if no one knows the story of Dracula?
I do.
Go on. Tell us all the story.
A man washes ashore in England after a shipwreck and is found by Mina Van Helsing. The man introduces himself as Count Dracula of Transylvania and proceeds to integrate himself into the lives of Mina and her friend Lucy Seward. However, when Mina dies and her father, Professor Van Helsing, attributes her death to a vampire, evidence indicates that Count Dracula is the monster and Lucy is his next target. Dun dun dun.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match.
I don't like when they mix up all the characters like this. It confuses me.
I assume they did, but I don't even really remember who the original ones are. I know there's Lucy, Mina, Van Helsing, and Seward, and Renfield, and Jonathan. They're all the same, but are they different?
Well, in the book, which I started reading, Dracula Daily,
you were going
on
to
May
read that
3rd.
daily, right?
Well, it
daily
tells
thing.
you read according to the diary entries. So I just started. I'm a little bit, but Mina is Jonathan's fiance, not Lucy.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And Mina is not a Van Helsing. And it's just very, I know they have to do it because they have to shorten it and make it all a bit of a story. So it follows the general story, but they do they confuse me. They switch up the characters. And sometimes I wonder if they do it so they don't get sued exactly or something.
So are we talking about what we didn't like already, Karen?
No, no,
Okay.
that's just, it confuses me. It doesn't mean I don't like it. I just, because I always
But
mix them up anyway.
is it the same as the 1931?
I don't know. It's just, I
Because
get it right in
all
my
right,
mind. And
we're just going into it now, boys and girls. Because the 1931 Dracula and this one are based on the same source material.
the
Not
play,
only, yeah, not only the novel, but the play, the exact same play.
it might be. It's just, I always confuse it and then I get it straight in my mind. And then I watch a movie and it's backwards and it starts to mess with me. It's not something that I only dislike it because I get disoriented by it.
I could understand. Yeah, I get that. But it is a small cast. But I was more confused, and you'll hear this when we go through it scene by scene because you're going to have to correct me several times. So I'm just telling you ahead of time, Karen. I was more confused with I was calling Seward Van Helsing throughout the whole beginning of it. And
Oh,
I thought Mina was his daughter for a while, right? Because that's what she is in this film. So I was a little, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I was confused at the beginning between those two. I had forgotten that Lucy and Mina are kind of switched, right, in the novel.
yeah.
So, is there anything you liked, Karen? Anything, anything at
I
all?
did. I actually, it was, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be campy or what because I don't do my research because I want to go in blind and just have my reaction to it. I like that it's very romantic. It's the old world type story, which I like versus the violence and it's the kind of Dracula story I like. There are some very cool shots in it. There's a couple like off the top of my head. They're surrounded by candles. There's a spider web that they shoot through at the castle or the his abbey house or whatever. There's some really nice, thoughtful shots. Him on a horse, like there's just really good shots in it. But it's very romantic. It's approached that way, and I like that. I wondered. I had to look it up because when it was starting, I was like, "Is this shot in black and white?" Because I like that feel to it. I like that but it's not. It's desaturated. And I looked it up. Did you look it up?
Yes,
Okay. Do you
I
want
knew
to?
about it beforehand, but I
Oh,
wasn't sure which one. There are several different versions of this film that have been available because after the original was shown in theaters, they colorized it or did some shit.
they desaturated. So in the theater, it was color,
It
but
was.
but then they desaturated, and they say the colored one, the original, is harder to find. Mine was desaturated, which the director did after it was released on Blu-ray and DVD, or the other
Yes,
way.
mine was as well.
So,
But
but I,
the originally the director or whatever wanted to shoot it in black and white, and Universal's wouldn't let him.
well, he
So
took care of that afterwards. But I liked it desaturated like that. At
I did
first,
too.
I thought he only desaturated the vampire parts of it because I guess when they're
Well,
in the
this is
day.
the Blu-ray is the theatrical release. This is the version that was shown in theaters.
Oh, because what I have is the
So it's almost black and
desaturated
white.
version is what's often seen on DVD and Blu-ray, while the original
Yes.
theatrical version was color and harder to find. So I
Yes.
don't know.
But it depends. I guess it depends. Because what I found was it was released on Blu-ray, the original theatrical color version in 2019 was released on Blu-ray. And it was the first time the original had been available since like
Hmm.
1982.
Well, I didn't see that one. I saw the desaturated and I liked it.
Well, when you say desaturated, I think black and white.
No, I looked it up because when I was watching it, I'm like, it's not black and white, but it's not
It's not
color,
black and white, but it's
but it's not sepia or what so,
no, it's
so
color, but it's a very muted color.
yeah, that means desaturated.
All
They
right.
take the little lever and they go down. You can play
All
with
right.
it.
So apparently our source materials are contradicting each other.
Well,
Is what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing.
no, but if I have a photo and I can desaturate it without making it monochromatic. You just mute all the colors. And you can see in my version that I watched, there's an outdoor scene where it still has color in it because it's probably so bright. I'm sure he didn't go and desaturate every frame. He just desaturated the whole thing to a certain level, would be my guess. But anyway, I liked it. There's some nice lighting techniques, some nice cinematography. I think that's all I have written down. Do you have anything?
Well, I liked the color of it, whatever it is. I liked it. I think it might have been even better in black and white.
Yes,
But things I liked, I wrote nice sets. It's almost like a
agreed.
Hammer film, Karen. You got nice sets, nice clothes, nice shots. I wrote there's some the ones you mentioned, and I mentioned them, I think, in my notes when we go through it. I thought the makeup was pretty good. The makeup was pretty good. And I wrote it's beautiful scenery. I wrote that specifically when they're like overlooking like the ocean or whatever the hell it is, wherever they are.
Yeah, and when I feel like also when they're on the boat or when they're trying to catch the boat
Yeah.
or on the sea, it's the sea. Like you get
Mhm.
the feel of every set that they're on feels like the set that they're on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The sea is the sea, the graveyard is
Yep.
nice, the insane asylum, the people go great. Like everywhere you are, you feel like that's where it is.
I did write it's more a romantic story than probably any Dracula film we've seen thus far. But I don't know if I didn't write. I wrote it in a separate column because I'm not saying I like it or I don't. I'm just something I notice. That's all I wrote down. I'll say I liked it better than I thought I would
Yes, me
going
too.
into it.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything you did not like, Karen,
Well, I will
other
say
than what you've
too,
already said?
there's good chemistry between Dracula and Lucy,
I
I
think
thought.
that just goes to good acting. So,
Well, but the acting's fine. There could have been, like, there are places where there could have been nudity
oh, for sure, Karen.
to make it a little more
Are we are
intense.
we are we going to what we did not
Yeah,
enjoy,
I
Karen?
thought you asked me
Okay.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, it, I think it
Or
would have
okay, I'll
added,
stop interrupting you.
but I have an issue, especially with these 70s movies, and I don't know what it is, but they film them in Victorian times and they always look like they're from the 70s. And I can't put my finger on what it is. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't work somehow. It takes me out of it a little bit because they look like I know Dracula's supposed to be this sexy guy, but he looks groovy to me. And he's not bad looking. He's perfectly fine. He's a handsome dude, but he looks like he's from the 1970s. And when they try to cram that kind of cast in there like that, and I thought, even though Dracula and Lucy's scenes were good together, I didn't like Lucy. She annoyed me for some reason, and I don't know what it was. So when you don't like one of the main characters, it's kind of hard to. I don't know. I just felt like it was incongruent to me. The actors, if they had made it
Ooh, that's a big word.
in the 70s and made it a 70s movie, I think it would have been okay. There's some real 70s shots in there with the red behind them and everything. And that's not bad. It's just of the times, but I don't know. I just either make it of the time or make it more Victorian, but I don't know how to do that. But you can tell they're not from that time. You can just tell. And he's supposed to be this old world guy, and he looks like he could be in a disco. Like and I don't, if someone could put their finger on it for me, I'd love to know. They didn't have 70s makeup. They didn't have, but there's something about it that I just can't get past. That's pretty much all I have. Renfield didn't really need to be in it. They got him in there with his bug eating and everything, but for no reason whatsoever, really. But other than that, it was very easy to watch. It went very quickly. I think Laurence Olivier was probably doing a money grab, but he was good. I don't know. Do you have anything you don't like?
The very first thing I wrote down is I don't like the look of Dracula. And I specifically wrote his fucking puffy hair.
Is that what it is? It the
I think it's the
puffy?
hair, Karen, that all the rest of them I thought were okay. I wasn't mad at the rest of them. I mean, Harker was,
He had the puffy hair too.
but
They
nah, he
look,
wasn't. He was more like a beetle haircut or
yeah,
something.
but I'm
But he was,
saying like, is it must be the hair then?
we see a wolf a lot, and the wolf howls are fine, but he like grunts and huffs and puffs and, at some points, and I didn't like it. It didn't sound good to me. And I really liked it, Karen. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can't believe this isn't like all over the place. Like people don't know about this until it got to the artsy wedding night, Karen, when you were talking about the groovy lights and all that. And that is when it lost me. Uh, quite a ways.
It was 70s.
Yes,
Yeah,
very 70s.
very
There,
groovy.
there are some bad effects. I mean, it's 1979, but when a bat bites Jonathan in the head or in the cheek, it's not a good. It's all right. I guess it's probably pretty good for 1979, but it's not good for now. It's very 70s for another reason because it has a chase scene in it, Karen. I wrote, this isn't doesn't need to be here. I guess it's 1979, so I'm sure they loved it back then. I did not enjoy the ending either.
Well, it has sequel potential.
But does he turn into a kite, Karen?
I don't-
Is that
I'm
what he
not
does?
sure, but she looks like she's watching him like it's a positive thing.
Oh yeah. I didn't like that
So
either. I didn't
I
like
know.
that I didn't like that she smiled or whatever. I didn't have any problem. Lucy did not annoy me at all. Neither did Mina. I would have enjoyed it more if I saw a lot more of them actually, Karen, in this film. So there you go. That's all I wrote down.
Music's fine. There's not,
It's but
there were certain points, except like you said in the,
but it's not prevalent. It's not there's not enough
no,
in it. But it's fine. What music is in it is fine. There were
I
moments of
liked what
silence where I was like, there should be something playing here. But
there was one effect that I did like that I made note of, which I don't know if you liked or not, but Jonathan swings something at Dracula and Dracula turns into a bat immediately. I thought
a
that was
shovel.
pretty. Okay. Well, it's pretty good. Like, oh, it's like, oh, that's pretty good for 1979.
The effect is, but
Right.
eh. Isn't he supposed to have like superhuman strength or something, Karen? I mean, he doesn't have any problem pretty much kicking his ass later. Why is he got to turn into a bat then? But whatever.
I think to bite it. Well, yeah, he could have been. I don't know. I just, I think I would have liked it maybe with a different Dracula. Although people talk about how sexy he is and stuff and how great he was in the role. And it's the puffy hair maybe or
It
something
is. I'm sure it is.
where you're like, he just doesn't fit.
Nope. He needs Christopher Lee slicked back hair,
Well, even Bella had slicked back hair.
or even like curly hair with lots of dippity doo on it. You know, that would have been better than and that's 70s, but it would have been better than this.
And Jonathan really looks like the 70s. But Mina and Lucy look more, and so do their respective parents, fathers, look more in time, in correct time. I don't
Yeah,
know. The male characters just didn't. Even Renfield didn't.
I think his hair and everything fit the time period, probably. Yeah, but like Jonathan should have had like short or his hair slicked as well. His hair slicked with a handlebar mustache. Perfect. Instead of that porn stash he had, right?
True.
All right. Anything else, Karen?
That's all I got.
All right. What kind of cocktail rating you want to give this film?
I think it's a 3.
It is a 3. I feel like we made it sound bad.
I know we did. It's a very easy watch, like I said. It flowed right
It's
through.
better than I thought it was. And it was an easy watch for me, but I watched it on 1.25 speed too. So it went pretty quick.
The story's there. He's very swashbuckling. It's romantic. It's all there. it's just not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah, up until the artsy fartsy wedding 70s porn thing, it was fine.
It's weird, but
And we have it later too. Same kind of thing during the sunburn or something. I don't know. Yeah, but it's 1979. What are you going to do?
if you can find it, I say it's definitely worth a watch. Because, it's our job for this podcast to sit and find things we don't like about it. If I was just watching it, it would have been fine. But we're looking for things we like and don't like. We have to come up with something. I still think the puffy hair would have to go, but I would still watch it.
Yeah, I would say see it,
Yeah,
especially if you can watch it on Daily Motion or archive.org for free.
right. Or if it comes on some channel in the fall, which I don't understand why it doesn't, but who knows?
Yeah, don't know. All right, Karen, would you like to hear a review from the time?
I would.
First, I have to tell you, this has a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, a 60% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think Google users think?
68%.
Pretty close, Karen, and you did not go over. So I'll give you that.
Is it
70%. Yeah.
Oh, I almost said 70, but
Of course you did, Karen.
that was my next guess.
The review I have is from a film critic named Roger Ebert.
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
Haven't done a
name.
Roger Ebert in a while, I don't think. And it's dated July 20th, 1979. And I haven't really pre-read this, and it's a page long. So I'm just going to read it, see where it goes. What an elegantly seen Dracula this is. All shadows and blood and vapors and Frank Langella, is that how you say his name?
I think so.
Stalking through with the grace of a cat. The film is a triumph of performance, art direction, and mood over materials that can lend themselves so easily to self-satire. There have been so many Draculas, Bela Lugosi played him 3 times, Christopher Lee 5, that the tragic origins of the character have been lost among the gravestones. The fangs and all those black cloaks. This Dracula restores the character to the purity of its first film appearance in Murnau's 1922 Nosferatu and Bela Lugosi's 1931 version. Not sure I agree with you, Roger. Sorry. It's close. It achieves that in 2 ways. First, through the Frank Langella performance. I didn't see his Broadway Dracula, but the long stage run must have given him the opportunity to think more deeply about the strange character he was playing.
Wait, so I could see that. I could see
Yeah,
him
this is
on
a
stage.
Broadway thing. Yeah. I can see that as well.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, hell, Barry Manilow could have been his understudy, Karen. Most of the previous Draculas we carry in our imaginations share 2 things: fangs and overacting. They come on so strong that potential victims shouldn't let them within yards of their necks. Frank Langella gives us a character who acts as if he's a count. He has royal manners. He is irresistibly attractive to women. He would have impeccable table manners if only, of course, it were not forbidden for him to eat. The film's second important achievement is in the direction of John Badham, who made Saturday Night Fever way back in 1977.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's all making sense now, Karen. And in the contributions of the key production artists. The art direction, the music, and special effects give us a 19th century setting that is at once halfway convincing and charmingly unreal. There is no way in the world, for example, that Dracula's castle in this film could actually exist. Its stark towers and parapets exist only on the covers of Gothic pot boilers. But Albert Whitlock's matte drawings of the castle combined with actual foregrounds give it a kind of surrealistic solidity, and the music makes it soaringly ominous. At that was probably pretty good for the time. I'll give him that. It's not quite a hammered view of a castle in the distance. The story, of course, is familiar. John Badham hasn't updated Dracula, thank God. What he has done, though, is concentrate a little more fully on the tragedy of having to live forever. Being Dracula isn't all fun, but Frank Langella gives the fate of his character a certain nobility, and one of the most affecting passages in the movie is his justification of himself to the lover of a woman he has seduced. He will show her the final intensity of life. He will take her beyond the everyday. He will take her to the grave to spare her from the grave. Some of the film's visual moments are stunning. Dracula, for example, creeping straight down the sides of a castle wall, the interior grandeur of the castle he inhabits.
So wait, I always like when they do that,
Yeah.
that creeping down because he goes head first down the wall. Very cool.
The interior grandeur of the castle he inhabits, all spider webs and candles. His head, the eyes glowing, appearing suddenly in the window of a woman's chamber, upside down. The acts of vampire lovemaking, which suggest an erotic intensity without any sexual explicitness, and in which
that's what we're thinking is missing.
Yes, and in which Dracula does not, by the way, depend upon fangs for his appeal. Frank Langella is surrounded by a first-rate cast. There's noble Laurence Olivier creeping out of an open grave and into a rat's tunnel. Donald Pleasance, the veteran of countless Hammer Studio horror films from Britain, providing a cheerful link to the Express Lane Draculas of Christopher Lee, and Kate Nelligan as Lucy, relenting so lusciously to Dracula as the house holds its breath. Roger really liked it.
He really did.
And I liked it as well, but
I agree. I did too.
I might have liked it a lot better if I saw it in 1979.
That's
right?
true. And I think I would have loved it if it was a play with the same cast. I can see that for sure.
Yep. All right, Karen. Before we go into it, scene by scene, do you want to tell us all what film you have chosen for us for next week?
I have chosen the 1999 film, The Blair Witch Project.
Any reason you chose that film, Karen?
Well, my math is off. So, for one thing, I thought it was the 25th anniversary, but it is the 26th anniversary.
26th anniversary.
But it came out on July 14th. And if you listen in order, this podcast will come out on July 16th.
Okay. Do we have a cocktail to enjoy while we watch this film from 1999, which was a big freaking deal back then?
Yes, it's called the Black-Eyed Stickman, a Blair Witch-inspired cocktail. Although I don't think I like the category. I see what you did there,
Karen.
It says category, cocktails and drinks, geeky.
Tiki?
Geeky.
Oh, geeky.
Like, come on, man. Anyway, you're going to need 1 1/4 ounces of vodka, 1 1/4 ounce of bourbon, 3/4 ounces of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of Saint Germain, 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, 1 dash of bitters, an orange peel, and a cherry for garnish. You can combine
all those things, Karen.
Combine all ingredients except garnishes in a shaker. Shake, strain into a glass. So the thing that makes it the Black-Eyed Stickman is the garnish, because you wrap the orange peel around the cherry and stick a toothpick through it. So if you don't make the garnish, you're missing the whole point.
So you wrap the orange
peel around the cherry
and put a toothpick through it.
Yeah. So it looks like an eyeball.
Like a stick man. Oh, an eyeball. That has nothing to do with stick man.
Well, it's black-eyed, so it looks like a black eye.
Oh, okay.
In the orange. Anyway.
Yeah, I get it. All right. I'm sure we all look forward to that. Have you seen it before, Karen?
I did. I saw it in the theater. I don't remember a lot of it, but I did see it.
I've never seen it. Films that have like lots of hype and like everybody is like talks about, I don't go see for some reason.
All I remember is it made me a little motion sick.
Oh,
so
okay. I can see that from what I know. All right. Are we ready to get into Dracula 1979, Karen, scene by scene?
Let's do it.
All right. It was rated R, Karen. I don't know why. It's just rated R. Can't tell you. First thing is we hear a wolf howl and we have credits. Film starts and we are on the Demeter voyage, I wrote, because
Me
I know
too.
the story.
I said lightning. Oh, we're aboard the Demeter.
So there you go. Heavy seas, and the guys on the boat are trying to throw a crate overboard.
Yeah, and it says Dracula on it,
But
but
then
it gets stuck.
yes.
Because I'm thinking if
Those
they threw
pesky
him,
crates in their construction.
yes, it's stuck on the lip of the ship, but he would die if they threw him in the water, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So they were so close. The film would have been over. Thank you all for coming. The end. But no,
But
he escapes.
I wrote something breaks out of the box. I know what it is, but I wrote something like I don't know the story, even though I already called it the Demeter. And the men are thrown overboard. Then we cut to an asylum, and the inmates are going crazy, I wrote. Then we cut to Lucy and Mina in their bedroom, and Lucy is reading a letter, right? And is it something about Jonathan and retaining his position or whatever? But then Lucy gets called down to the ward,
Yeah, because everybody's going crazy and her dad needs help.
and her dad runs the asylum, Dr. Seward, even though I call him Van Helsing for a while. Lucy comes down in her nightgown, Karen.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do when you're going to deal with
Help
the inmates.
when you're going to go help your dad.
And they hear church bells and they talk about how it's to warn the ships. Mina gets up and looks out the window and watches the Demeter crash into the rocks. She runs down in her nightgown, Karen, through a cemetery.
Yeah, it was a cool shot of her running through. It was yeah.
She runs
nice
for
lighting.
a while.
Yeah.
There's a wolf on the ship, I wrote, once the boat crashes, and the wolf growls at Mina, but it walks away, and then we see Mina running somewhere else. I don't know.
So I'm guessing.
I don't know I don't know why she's running, where she's going at this point, but
I think she's drawn to him. I think he's kind of manipulating her mind. And she is sickly for some reason.
well, that's what they say.
They mention that when before he even arrives, she's not in great shape. But I think she's weak and he can manipulate her mind, I'm guessing.
So we see Mina in a cave, and she finds a man, and he takes her hand. And this is a pretty good shot, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we see townsfolk cleaning up the shipwreck. They have crates full of dirt opened, and Jonathan Harker arrives in his fancy car, I wrote.
Yeah, he seems to be well established.
He's so fancy. He's a fancy. Apparently, Count Dracula, we learn, is the only crew member who survived because Mina found him. They unload Count Dracula's baggage. Renfield's there, and he wants the boxes or crates of dirt as well. And Van Helsing.
No, he's not there yet.
No. So this is what I'm saying. So Dr. Seward tells Renfield to invite Dracula to his house for dinner, to Dr. Seward's.
Yes.
So then Jonathan arrives at the house in his fancy car, and he and Lucy kissy face. And through their discussion, we learn that Dracula is living next door. They're neighbors.
They call them neighbors, but then through the chase scene,
They're really far away, but
they're far away.
the neighbor.
But I guess it's the next castle over. It's an abbey, an old abbey. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you spending time with us. You know, you can help us grow our audience by following us on social media at Scary Spirits Podcast. Just look for us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to tell all your friends to find us too. Now let's get back to the show.
Then we see Renfield pulling boxes of crates of soil into the castle. Doors at the top of the stairs open, and Dracula enters, and he turns into a bat, and then he's like kind of goes after Renfield.
Well, because Renfield's like, this is the last one, and you better be happy about it because I'm not a machine. So he mouths off to Dracula, and that's all it takes, and he gets bitten. It's Dracula doesn't take no shit like that.
So then we see the Sewards and Mina preparing for dinner. They talk about there's been a death in the town, just like the man on the boat who had his neck mauled, whatever, on the ship, which, a few men got killed on the ship that didn't go overboard.
Yeah, they had their throats basically ripped out.
Dracula arrives. He introduces himself to everyone.
Well,
He
wait,
seems
so
very friendly.
yeah, he arrives in a very cool way. So the speeding carriage comes running up with black horses, of course. It's a black carriage, no driver. And then the step stool, just like the step thing into the carriage, moves by itself, so he can step on it. And you see his boots and you see the bottom of his cape. So it's very cool, very, you know, dramatic.
It's very Dr. Frankenfurter
A little,
when he's tapping his foot
yes.
in Rocky
A
Horror.
little different, but sort of. But it's dramatic. And then he goes into the house, yes.
I wrote Lucy and Dracula have words. They're playing this word game here. I don't know. And Dracula escorts Mina to dinner. At dinner, they discuss the ship's log. The last words in the log were Nosferatu.
Because they say, oh, they've discovered the log. And Dracula said, oh, did that not go overboard? Kind of like a little disappointed in that.
And right here, I'm wondering, aren't they wondering how he survived and no one else did, and he doesn't have a freaking scratch on him, Karen? His hair is perfect.
Yeah, they
He's
don't
like a
see.
werewolf of London. But that's what I was thinking. And of course, he knows what Nosferatu means, whatever.
Because Nina says she thought it meant undead, and he corrects her and says it means not dead, which I don't really know. I guess I don't know. But then one of the servants cuts their finger, I think, and he gets distracted.
Yes.
And Mina says it's all very frightening, but Lucy looks straight at Dracula and says, "Oh, I love to be frightened."
Then after dinner, they're having drinks. Harker and
And
Lucy
Dracula does
dancing.
say he doesn't drink.
He does.
He never drinks wine. He uses the line. So
He
there's
doesn't
some.
say wine.
Yes, he
He
does.
just says, "I never drink."
No, he
That's all
says
I
wine.
heard. All right.
You were at 1.2 speed.
That's true.
But Dracula looks smitten with Lucy.
But he does also say that he cannot translate the ship captain's log, his like personal log or something, because it's some
It's in the wrong dialect.
variation of
Yeah.
he can't read it.
And I'm guessing that might be a lie.
And then he gives Mina the eyes and she feels faint.
And Lucy and Jonathan are dancing, and he's watching them intently dance. But then he turns his attention to Mina and causes almost a distraction. So they'll stop dancing.
Yeah. And then Dracula hypnotizes her, Karen.
Yes. Well, they're going to go put drugs. They're going to go get drugs for it. He goes, don't pollute.
Laudanum. We need
Laudanum.
laudanum, whatever it is.
But he says, don't pollute her blood. I was like, that's a nice line. They put her on the fainting couch and he hypnotizes her.
Yeah. Then Lucy wants to dance with the Count.
It's almost like when he starts paying attention to
Yeah.
Mina, she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, it's time. Let's dance.
And I
can't
wrote,
leave.
Jonathan doesn't seem too happy.
No. And it looks like, would you say they're dancing the waltz?
I don't know.
Well, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
It wasn't the hustle or the bus stop, Karen.
Or the locomotion. The waltz is a ballroom dance characterized by a 3/4 time signature with slow step slide step rhythm. It involves couples moving together in a gliding turning motion, often in a close embrace, which they had. It originated as a folk dance in the 18th century and quickly became a popular ballroom dance. So it was from the German-speaking world and evolved from a dance called a Landler. Is the umlaut's over the A? Is that an Landler?
I don't
Do you
know.
remember?
I don't
All right.
remember.
But anyway, German speaking. I cannot dance the waltz. Can you?
Um, Surprisingly, I'm not very coordinated, Karen.
That's funny because drummers you would think would
You would
be
think, right?
coordinated and have good rhythm.
Yeah, I think I've lost it. All right, so then later that evening, Lucy and Mina are in bed together, Karen. And I was like, oh, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. But then bells ring, and apparently it's a doorbell.
Oh, I thought it was a clock that rang 3 times, so you knew
I
it was
don't know
3
what it
a.m.
was. It could have been. That makes more sense. Lucy goes out and meets Jonathan.
Yeah, I
And,
don't think he'd
we
ring the
do see
doorbell.
shots of the clock on
Yeah. I think
Mina's
it was a
nightstand
ping, ping, ping. I think it's 3 a.m. and she goes out,
and
sneaks down to see Jonathan.
Jonathan is jealous.
No, he's mad because
But
he
then
comes up behind her and scares her and he says, I thought you'd love to be frightened.
but then in their conversation, she says something about him sprouting wood.
No, I don't remember
Oh
that.
yeah, she did. Well, she talks about him sprouting wood out his nose. And I'm like, what? Did she just say sprouting wood? And she did. They kissy face.
Yeah. They're a little tense with each other at first and then it all dissolves and they're happy together.
And Dracula watches from the roof. But now
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is he controlling her now?
I don't think he was yet.
All right. So then Dracula climbs down the castle walls or the house or the abbey or whatever it is to Mina's window, tries to open the window, but it is locked. So he tears away at the glass, the stained glass, and
Yeah, and it's very cool.
enters.
So he's coming down from the roof head first, crawling along the wall, which is very creepy, and I love it. But the fog's coming before him,
Yes, all the
in
froggies
front of
fog.
him. Yes. So the fog covers the window first, and then he comes down because he can't get it. But he peels off the lead because
Yep.
it's leaded glass, and he
Right.
peels it apart and then opens it.
Yeah, it's not
It was
stained
cool.
glass, but it's like stained glass, but it's all clear. So it's leaded
Yes.
glass. Yeah. He enters and Mina seems pleased, I wrote.
Yes. I said there's nice lighting. I don't know what it was, but
And she undoes her nightgown. And then we hear a wolf again. Cut to Lucy going back to the bedroom there. She crawls back in bed. Then we're back at the
yeah,
castle.
so it's next to Mina. So Mina's
Yes.
just laying there, but Lucy's trying to be quiet so she doesn't get in trouble for
And she
sneaking
covers
out.
it, Mina too.
Yeah. So we don't know if Mina was in trouble then or not physically.
So then we're in the castle and Renfield eats a cockroach, I wrote. And Dracula arrives and makes Renfield pledge his loyalty to him. Next morning, cut to Mina in the bed, struggling to breathe.
She looks like she ate a peanut when she shouldn't have
Yeah.
or got stung by a bee.
Lucy calls for Dr. Seward. Dr. Seward slaps Mina.
She looks like she's panicking. They're just telling her, breathe. I said, I don't think screaming at her more to breathe is going to make her breathe, but they think she's like having a panic attack, but she can't get air.
Yeah, but she gone. And Dr. Seward finds bite marks on her neck. Cut to them having breakfast, and Dr. Seward is sending a telegram to Mina's father, Professor Van Helsing.
Yeah, he tells him that there was no sign of disease, just marks on her neck. And Lucy won't eat, but Dr. Seward has no problem stuffing in food.
Then Jonathan goes to the castle to see Dracula take care of the deed. This is where Jonathan tells Dracula that Mina has been frail all of her life. This is the first time I heard it. And Dracula gives Jonathan a letter to give to Dr. Seward, inviting them to his home after Mina's funeral. Because, of course, Jonathan will be gone.
He sends him on an errand, which we
Has to
don't
go
know.
to London to get this paperwork done.
Yeah. Dracula insists that he do it. And then he does say, there was one funny, Jonathan says, well, there's a lot of crates with just dirt in them. And he says, I
Yes.
have an intense interest in botany. I thought that was funny.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought. So then we see Jonathan driving back.
And
Ren-
Jonathan's not happy. They do a stare down where Jonathan knows that Dracula is interested in Lucy. They
Yeah, yeah,
do
you can tell that.
so, but he has to do his job, so he's going to have to leave.
So Jonathan driving back, Renfield is in the back of the car, jumps up and attacks him and begs for his help. And we see a bat hanging from a branch watching. Then we see Renfield admitted to the asylum.
Because he attacked Jonathan.
Cut to the funeral. Jonathan leaves right after the funeral. Dr. Seward tells Lucy that Professor Van Helsing is arriving and they will be unable to go to Dracula's castle for dinner. But Lucy says, "Oh, I will go as a
Yeah,
courtesy."
as a courtesy. I think I should go alone.
As you would.
And the dad says, okay, fine.
So then we see Lucy in a carriage. Van Helsing arrives. Seward meets him. Lucy arrives at the castle. The doors open and she enters.
Again, no driver of the carriage.
Yes,
It's
it
his.
just drives off. No one
Yeah.
opens the door for her. She has to let herself out.
Well,
Rude.
but he sent the Uber.
You could have opened the door.
Yeah.
Chivalry is dead, Karen. I wrote there's a nice shot of her below the spider web. This is
Yeah.
shot from above. With
There's
a spider
candles
in the web,
everywhere.
like
Yes.
tracking her. Like I think it's an analogy or something, alluding to something there.
Yes. Could be symbolism.
Yes. Dracula
There's
greets her.
There's candles everywhere, but he could have cleaned up a little bit. There's still cobwebs everywhere. Like that place would go up in flames with that many candles and all those cobwebs.
And we cut to Seward and Van Helsing discussing Mina's cause of death in their carriage. Back to Lucy and Dracula having dinner. And I wrote here, love connection.
Yep.
Back to the asylum. Someone jumps out a window. I don't know who, but Seward and Van Helsing inspect the body. One of the inmates comes in and says that she was killed by a woman with fangs and it looked just like Mina.
No, I think it's Mina that jumps out the window. And the woman comes running because Mina killed her
Mina's
baby.
dead.
Yes, Greg, she came back from the dead as a
Oh.
vampire. So
Oh,
she
okay.
came into the asylum,
Okay, I get it.
took the baby, killed
Yep.
the baby, jumped out the window.
Gotcha.
There isn't a body at the bottom. It's just the baby down
Okay.
there.
Yep, that's what I thought too. Well, I couldn't tell, actually.
But the mother is hysterical, of course. But they said, well, we don't know who it was. And the mother goes, well, I do. It was Mina. Or it looked just like Mina. And she said her eyes were red like rubies and her lips drawn back and her breath was foul. Long, dreadful teeth like things of a wolf. It was Miss
Wow.
Lucy's friend Mina. And they were all like, but they just put her in the earth today. So anyway, Mina's already out and about.
Look at you acting and all.
I know. Were you impressed?
So then we cut back to Lucy and Dracula gives the line about children of the night, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but he says what sad music they make instead of what beautiful.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, and then he says it's lonely, like weeping, but she goes, but I like it. She loves the night. It's so
Yes.
simple.
Oh, yeah, I agree, Karen.
And he says it's deceptive, and she says it's exciting. She's all in.
So Lucy and Dracula play a cat and mouse game here I wrote, which is them, going through all
That's
this
the
stuff.
banter, yeah.
And then Dracula kisses her. They kissy face. And Dracula says, you should leave. No, I can't. You must leave. You have to leave.
But she says no.
No, she
I'm not
hesitates.
going she goes, I'd rather stay. And then he says, I'll see you again. And she says, please do.
Yes, she does. And then we see Van Helsing reading a book about vampire bats. And I wrote, is that an encyclopedia?
I don't know.
Back
But
in the
he's
day,
using his
boys and girls, we had books called encyclopedias. You didn't have Google to look everything up in. You had to look it up in a book. You had to find the right volume.
Right.
of the
It was all
encyclopedia.
alphabetical.
So then we see Van Helsing at Mina's grave. Lucy comes and sits with him. And Van Helsing has put garlic on the grave. He tells Lucy about vampires. Van Helsing gives Lucy a crucifix he said he was going to give to Mina on her birthday, but Mina would want her to have it and to wear it always, Karen.
Yes.
Dracula arrives at the cemetery and he has come to pay his respects to Mina.
Oh, you now we see Dracula on a horse coming towards them. I have to say he cuts a nice figure on a horse. It's a very dramatic approach. But yes, what you
Well, who
said.
doesn't on a horse, Karen?
And I think I would probably look ridiculous, but that's just me. But yeah, the cape's flying, the boots, it's nice. I'm not gonna lie. But yes, he's come to pay his respects. They must have had the funeral during the day, I guess, so he couldn't go.
Does he look better than Damien Thorne riding in the fox hunt in the final conflict, Karen, on his horse?
Probably.
He looks better
I
because
don't
of his
know.
flowing cape.
Yes.
All right. He sees the cross around Lucy's neck.
Yes, he mentions it. What's that? And she tells him.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't like his tone.
yeah. It's like,
Actually, it sounds like what I would say. So then we cut to Van Helsing watching out the window as Dracula is at the grave on his horse. And the horse is spooked and rides
yeah.
off.
I was wondering, is this something that's in the book? I haven't, if it is, I haven't gotten to it yet. But
No, I don't
do
think
you,
it is.
because they bring out another horse.
Yes,
So I was
it's
just
definitely
wondering.
not in the book because
Okay.
I haven't read the whole thing, but like, you like to remind everyone I got three-quarters of the way through it.
That's all I got, Greg.
So no, there was nothing about him even visiting the grave and the horse. No, none of that.
Okay.
So then Van Helsing and Dr. Seward, they take a horse to the graveyard, and Dr. Seward says there's no such thing as vampires as they're walking down there. Then we see
But Van
Lucy.
but Van Helsing says the horse can predict where a vampire is.
That's what he says.
So I didn't know if there was some sort of lore. I couldn't find it.
And we cut to Lucy getting ready for bed. She takes the cross off and hangs it on a photo of herself and Mina. Back to the graveyard, the horse is spooked and it pounds its hooves on the grave of Mina.
Like it's gonna remove all the garlic plants.
Cut back to Lucy getting ready for bed. There's fog outside the window, Karen. There's a fog curtain. Or fog fall, waterfall, fog. Dracula enters
He does call her his beloved and lifts her up.
and he hypnotizes her. I wrote the
I
kissy
don't
face.
I don't think he needed to hypnotize her. I think she's already all in.
No, I think it was all his hypnotizing, giving her his eyes. He ain't all that, Karen. I mean, she's in love with Jonathan.
Not anymore.
Well, whatever. And he bites her, and then it gets all artsy. That's what I
Very
wrote.
70s.
Yeah.
They're in silhouette. They're looks like they're floating maybe above the bed. I said, well, it's not black and white anymore. 'Cause this is very red and I say, I'm surprised there's not more nudity here. This is where I thought there would be some sort of nudity.
Yeah, you would think.
But they're in silhouette the whole time. You don't
Yeah,
see
and they're
anything.
fully clothed the whole time.
Yeah.
Basically see a shadow of their two bodies against a red background. So then Dracula cuts himself on the chest and has Lucy drink his blood.
I'm like, he's already done this with Mina. Why is this so special? Because if she had to drink his blood to become a vampire, right? So
Maybe. So then Van Helsing and Dr. Seward in the cemetery digging up Mina. The casket is empty, but there is a tunnel under the casket, Karen.
well, they put the
How
garlic.
convenient.
Well, we do see. So earlier in the movie, we see people coming back, and in the morning. I'm like, are they coming back from the mines?
Yeah, they are coming back from
And I was
mine.
like, that's weird. Why is that in there? Well, this is why that's in
That's
there because there are
probably right.
tunnels all underneath the graveyards from the mines. But they put garlic on top, so she couldn't go through the top. She had to go through the bottom.
Van Helsing crawls in to the tunnel. See Van Helsing walking through the tunnel with his wooden stake.
No, he has a cross,
He does have that too, but he has a stake as well.
and he drops the cross in a puddle.
Yes, a bat flies at Van Helsing and he loses his cross. In the water, he sees the reflection of Mina, and she don't look so good, I wrote.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to solve something for you. Because there was another movie where we saw the same thing, where we saw a reflection in the water of a
Oh yeah,
vampire.
yeah. I'm a vampire.
And the same thing happens here, right?
Yes.
She's in the water, he sees her reflection.
Yes.
But you can't, there are other times in this movie where you can't see the reflection in the mirror.
True.
Okay. So in
What is
vampire,
that? What is all that about, Karen?
let me tell you,
I
Greg,
don't understand.
because you got very upset that,
I did.
so I'm
And
going to help
I'm
you.
upset again now that you brought it all up.
In vampire folklore, vampires typically cannot be reflected in mirrors, while their reflections can be seen in water. This is often attributed to vampires lacking souls or being unholy, which prevents their image from being captured in silver-backed mirrors, as silver is associated with purity and the reflections of souls. That's how mirrors used to be made, with silver backs.
Oh, that explains why I can see myself now, then, Karen.
Water, being a different kind of reflective surface, is not subject to the same limitations. Historically, mirrors were made with a silver backing. And then it says the idea that vampires lack a soul and are therefore unholy often explains they cannot be reflected in these mirrors. So there you go.
Damn it, it all makes sense now, Karen.
I'm sorry. One less thing to bitch about. Damn it.
All right. So Mina attacks Van Helsing, her father, or no. Yeah, her father.
Yeah. She's not looking good. She
No,
looks
she's not.
bad.
Papa.
But
Dr. Seward.
she was only buried the night before or whatever, wasn't it? And her
Hasn't
whole
been long, I don't think.
and she's disintegrated. Like she looks like a zombie. But anyway, yeah, and again, here's a point where you have to kill your own child. And I think this would be very difficult because she's going, Papa, Papa. But
Dr. Seward pulls her off of him and puts his cross on her forehead, his crucifix, I guess. It burns, Karen.
yes,
She recoils away and is impaled on Van Helsing's wooden stake he's holding. And I wrote, she gone again.
yep, she's dead again.
Jonathan arrives at the house. He goes to see Lucy. I wrote, Lucy don't look so good. Van Helsing says she has lost a great deal of blood. There are bite mark on her neck, and they give her a transfusion with Jonathan's blood because, of course, he's the perfect
Perfect
blood type.
match. Yeah, we don't need to do any typing.
And Van Helsing is ordering that garlic be placed all around the windows, or they wipe the windows down with it. I don't know. Something about garlic everywhere.
Yeah, Jonathan's like, oh, I'm already lightheaded. I don't need the garlic. And he's just like, we're doing the garlic.
So then we cut to Van Helsing having a drink, and I wrote brandy? Question mark. Dracula enters, and Dracula has no reflection in the mirror. He breaks the mirror. Van Helsing and Dracula have words. Van Helsing produces garlic. Dracula recoils.
Dracula tells the professor to go back to Holland, but Van Helsing says, I think I'll remain.
Van Helsing produces a cross and pushes Dracula away. Dracula jumps out the window and turns to a wolf.
Yeah,
That was kind of neat.
Yeah, he did try to
I like the turning to a wolf better than a bat.
He tried to overpower Van Helsing with his mind
he tries to
manipulation,
hypnotize Van Helsing.
but he can't. He does a little, but Dracula admits, Van Helsing, you're strong for a person who's barely lived a century or something.
Yeah, and Dracula basically lays his cards on the table here at this scene because he knows Van Helsing knows, but whatever.
Yeah.
Van Helsing tells Dr. Seward and Jonathan that Dracula was there and that he is a vampire. Dun, dun, dun. They go to the cemetery.
Not a believer yet.
No, Jonathan's not a believer. So they go to the cemetery and show Jonathan Mina's body. She looks fresh. She looks alive. But when Van Helsing puts a mirror to Mina, she has no reflection. Van Helsing says to save her soul, he has to take out her heart as he pulls out his scalpel. Lucy watches from the window. Lucy asks for tea.
Yeah, she needs to get rid of the maid.
While the maid is away, she rides away in a carriage. Jonathan chases
lightning speed. Like that thing is going 100 miles per hour.
Imagine imagine watching it at 1 1/4 speed. Everything was moving fast.
I said that carriage is going 1,000 miles an hour the way it took off down the road.
Jonathan chases her down in his automobile. He cuts her off. Jonathan tries to stop her from going to the castle, Jonathan tells her Dracula is a vampire. Lucy will have none of it. They tackle her, and Van Helsing rubs her temples, putting her to sleep, Karen.
Yeah, it was weird.
Dr. Seward takes Lucy back home while Van Helsing and Jonathan go to the castle to destroy Dracula. Jonathan and Van Helsing at the castle, opening crates of dirt. But then Dracula just pops in from nowhere.
They're
And
busted.
yeah, and Van Helsing says he's surprised he can move around even though it's daylight. But because he's inside, he can, I guess. Jonathan shows a cross to Dracula. He grabs it and it burns, Karen.
It lights it on fire.
He throws it away. What was that about? How come that cross didn't?
I don't know.
Is it because
I was
Jonathan's
like,
not a
because
believer?
that's what I said. Is Jonathan not a believer? See, we've seen so many of these
I know,
films.
so I can never use a cross on a vampire. Dracula says that Lucy will be his bride. Yeah,
He's taunting
toying.
Jonathan
Taunting,
at this
yes.
point. Yeah.
She is
I've
all,
had many brides, but she'll be special.
yes, that's what they all say. And
She'll be above them all, he says.
he says she is his already.
Yes.
Harker goes to hit him with a shovel and he turns into a bat and flies around. Van Helsing hammers at some supports to make the ceiling collapse to let light inside. The bat attacks Jonathan. Sunlight hits the bat and it starts to burn and flies away. Then I wrote, is Van Helsing puts communion wafers in the soil? Is that what he's doing here?
It looks
Karen?
like the Eucharistic host, but yes, that's what he's doing. The
Is that
one
what that is?
the one that
It looks a lot like the wafers you make us eat. Only they're round.
it's the bigger round one that the priest uses at the altar. It's called the Eucharistic host.
For communion?
That's the one the priest eats, yeah. Or the one that they'll put up and you pray in front of and stuff.
Okay, Karen. Whatever you say.
But yes, it's the same material
Yeah,
as
it
the
looks like
wafers.
the same wafers. Okay, whatever. Somehow it's special. All right, never mind. So then back at the asylum, Lucy
It's
is now
consecrated by whatever.
Lucy is
it
now
is
in a
special.
cell.
They put her in a padded cell. They put
Yes.
Lucy in the cell to keep her safe.
But her father has not given her laudanum yet. He wants to, though.
No, and they put a little boy outside the door to guard her. And I'm like, this is why are they never really guarding the people they need to guard in these stories?
I don't know. But Jonathan does go visit her, and they warn him before he goes in that she's different. But they go in and they hug, and she asks.
She tries to pretend that she's back to normal, but all she wants to know is what their plans are for Dracula.
Information. She just wants information. She wants to know what they were doing to Mina, and Lucy trying to get information. I wrote, Lucy works her feminine wiles on Jonathan.
Yeah, and he caves.
Yep,
100%.
he does.
Totally caves.
As we do. They kiss. She turns. She goes to bite his neck. He yells for the professor. Dr. Seward and Van Helsing enter. Van Helsing holds a crucifix to her, and she falls into bed. And she takes the crucifix from him and holds it to her chest.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's supposed to be her dichotomy. She's not quite there
that's what
yet.
I think. Yeah.
She came back in that moment.
Back in the asylum, they're keeping Renfield from eating bugs, and Renfield warns them that he is coming, meaning Dracula. Cut to Jonathan loading his revolver.
Yeah, did nobody tell him that wasn't going to work?
I don't know. I tried to look and see if there were silver bullets or something, but I'm not even
turns out
sure
they're
that
not.
works. No.
I don't think that worked. I don't know.
So then we see Renfield in his straitjacket talking to a spider. Dracula crawls up the wall. Renfield yells for help. Dracula breaks through the glass and the window and the bars. He tells Renfield he betrayed him. He snaps his neck.
Yeah, in a skinny second.
Yeah, I like that part, actually. That's pretty good. He gone.
But why didn't he do that to Jonathan earlier? He was right there, if it's that easy.
Don't know. Then they run to, there's a bunch of noise and shit, and they run to Lucy's room, and there was a hole in the wall of the asylum in her room, and she and Dracula are going down the walls.
They're crawling down the wall head first.
Then we see Dracula carrying Lucy through the woods. The others follow in Jonathan's car. Dracula and Lucy make it to the castle. Dracula tells Lucy she must go on being a creature of the sun. When those who are trying to destroy them are killed, they can be together eternally and feed upon them, Karen.
So weird though. Why does it
They
have
will
to be that?
create more of their kind.
Yes, but why do they have to wait?
I don't know. So then we see a carriage with a box from the Demeter trying to leave England. Jonathan and the others follow in his car.
So they come to a fork in the road and they're sitting in the car. They don't know which
Yes.
way to go, and a carriage goes by that has one of the crates from the Demeter, and
Well,
they
they
go,
even
"Oh."
stop and talk to him, but then the carriage takes off
The
without the
horses are like,
driver.
we got no time for this.
Yes.
But it just goes, isn't that convenient? So they know which way to go now. They're
Yeah.
following.
So then the carriage hits a rock, throwing the driver to the side of the road, and Jonathan crashes his car. The axle was cracked.
And the
Yeah.
driver is dead, the
Yeah.
carriage driver.
And they said, now what are we going to do? We got 10 miles. And Jonathan said, well, let's go.
We got to walk it.
So whatever. Arrive at a port, but the crate is missing from the carriage. The crate is already on a ship to Romania, and Van Helsing has someone take him out on a boat. They get to the ship, and the men only speak German. And
Romanian, I thought, but whatever.
it's
Is it
sounded
German?
German to me.
Okay.
And Van Helsing says Nosferatu to them, and they're like, oh, what? Huh? And then Jonathan and Van Helsing go down to the cargo hold. They open the crate and find Dracula and Lucy
Snuggled.
in a cold embrace.
Yes.
Jonathan pulls out Lucy. Van Helsing tries to stab Dracula with the stake. Lucy wakes him up. Dracula stabs Van Helsing with the stake. Jonathan shoots Dracula with his gun. Doesn't seem to do much good, I wrote. Then Dracula attacks Jonathan. Van Helsing throws a hook at Dracula and stabs him in the back, like a ship's, cargo hook thing.
Yeah.
Block and tackle, Karen.
Yes.
Jonathan throws the lever, pulling Dracula up into the sunlight above the boat on the mast.
Yes, because he's hooked. Yeah.
He's hooked.
I
The
said,
sun
why is he not on
burns.
fire yet? But he just wails up there.
Yeah, the sun burns. Lucy distraught. Dracula's skin blisters and his hair turns white. He's got a bad sunburn, Karen. Cut to Lucy. She looks much better, I wrote. And then I wrote, Dracula's body flies away like a kite? Question mark.
That's what it looks like.
And there's a wolf howl.
Yeah.
And then Lucy smiles? Question mark. Credits. The end.
Sequel potential, though. They could have made another one. Was it not successful in the theater?
It did well. I mean, it made money. I mean, I don't know by, universal standards, but box office was 31 million, budget was 12. So it made $20 million. And it was released on video back in the 80s, like shortly after. Yeah, its first week it did really good, but then it like kind of dropped and is seen as something as a disappointment by the studio, Karen, it says.
Oh, well, that's why there wasn't a sequel then. Because they did have good chemistry, those two. They could have repopulated the vampire world.
They have to do that by biting people, right, Karen?
Yes, Greg, yes.
Oh, they're not just fornicating and making vampire babies, right?
No.
All right. What'd you think of the cocktail, the Sunburn cocktail, Karen?
It's good.
Mine has evaporated. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I thought I used a little extra cranberry juice, but I thought the tequila taste would be really strong, but it's not. It mixes well.
I kind of accidentally used a little more tequila in mine.
Did you? I thought you didn't like tequila.
I don't, but it's pouring and oops.
Oops.
I might have put 2 ounces instead of 1.5 or
Hate
whatever
when
it
that
was.
happens.
Oh, it was 1 ounce. So I probably put 1.5. But after that, I tried really hard and got the correct amount of triple sec and cranberry juice in.
As long as you're trying hard.
Anything we learned today, Karen? I have
Not
the
a whole,
waltz.
not a whole lot, because I mean, it was pretty full of stuff we've all talked about before. The waltz. I have the switching of characters. The film not shot in black and white, which you can tell, but desaturated. And then why you can see vampires in water, but not mirrors.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Vampires. Vampire reflections. That's
All I
important.
had. That's a big one.
Important information to know, boys and girls. Vampire Reflections. I got some music reference in there, but one or two of them are kind of subtle. You may some of you may have missed them. All right. Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
I'm going to thank our listener. You know, there's a lot of podcasts out there, and we really appreciate you spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
Karen, I'm going to once again thank the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
Music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk to you about getting social with us. Did you know you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast? Or check out our website, scaryspirits.com. If you have something to say, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Please drink responsibly.